Welcome to Married to an Angel, where we share the principles for an angelic marriage. Here is Reverend Dr. Stephen and Reverend Lorna Mendoza.
Welcome to Married to an Angel. I'm so glad that you can tune in with us today. I always count it a privilege and an honor to be with you and to share the gift that God has given to us. So today we want to talk about flexibility, and before we do, let me introduce my husband, Reverend Stephen Mendoza.
So after the exercises that we have for you today, that's a joke, exercise flexibility. So really not that.
Okay.
But thank you, Lorna. Yesterday in our premarital session, we want to talk a bit about flexibility because we are on marriageability traits.
Right, yes.
And then we're telling you some of the qualities that you need to develop as a young man, young woman wanting to get married, or any person who wants to get married. This is definitely a good quality you want to develop, how to be flexible.
So one of the hallmarks of maturity is flexibility. And you might say, what is flexibility? Flexibility is to try something new,
Right.
to be able to bend, willingness to change or to compromise.
Some people don't like that word compromise.
No.
But as much as we may have a vision for an ideal outcome, sometimes circumstances that are beyond our control causes changes that may either be for the better or for the worse. And as much as we want things to go in a certain way, I have a way of saying once anybody else is involved, you are not in full control.
Exactly, true.
And because you're not in full control, then you have to learn some level of flexibility so that you can achieve what you want to achieve.
Because this is not about my way alone.
Right.
Because, of course, we are in premarital, so it's about gleaning, it's about learning about your partner, and it's about gelling. Two people gelling together. So, of course, you would have opposites, different ideas and things, but flexibility is two people coming together to become one. And so it will have some problems, it will have some cutting off, some shaking off, because it's new things that you're welcoming, things that you were not accustomed to.
And a person in your life, a male or a female in your life, after not even necessarily a prolonged period, once a person comes into your life and you have a level of love and attraction, that person starts to change you and you don't even realize that you are changing. And all of that. Sometimes there's some people who realize that they're changing, they try to step back, and say, no, I'm not changing, and they try to be rigid in certain things. So, what did Solomon say regarding flexibility and some of the changes that we'll have in life?
In Ecclesiastes 3, 1-8, he said, to everything there is a season, a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace.
Wow. Solomon, I think, would have put almost everything you could think about regarding life, regarding the reversals, regarding understanding changes in times and seasons.
Yes.
And he keep using the word time. I think time was used the most. A time for.
A time
and
for.
a time for things mean it is appointed unto you to go through certain things in life.
Sure.
No matter who you are, there is a time in your life Well, of course, once you're born, you're sure
You're
to
sure
die.
to die.
When that time is, we don't know, but
True.
there's a time for that, right? A time to pluck up that which is planted. I mean, if you plant something, there's a time
To reap it. Yes.
You know?
Correct.
We may not like to hear a time to kill and a time to heal, but you look over the course of history with wars and how maps have changed and everything like that.
Yeah.
Well, we may not have agreed with the process, but there's a time even, I guess, for that. A time to build up, a time to break it down. If you want
True.
to get something new,
You have to break it
you have to
down.
break the old.
Yes,
You know, you have to suffer inconvenience to get convenience. You know, I remember years ago, where in Tobago, when they were building the Claude Noel Highway, there were some people protesting and they lay down in the middle of the road. And there was these big excavators couldn't work because, you know, they lay down in the middle of the road. But you know what? The government flexed its muscles and moved them. But today we have the nice Claude Noel Highway and things like that. We had a time in Guayame with highway building the extension from the Uriah Butler Highway. And again, people did not want to move their homes where the highway was
Right,
passing.
yes.
Sometimes they move or they object to progress. But there's a time for everything.
Yes.
It's like you saying, you know, you want to keep this old car. You love this car. It's your first car.
Yes.
But nobody will buy it from you, and it will just remain old. You will get old. The car will get old. It will just pack up there. There's a time to let go of things. You see, you have to know the time to pluck up, as I say, that which was planted. A time to weep.
Oh, yes. And a time to
A
laugh.
time to laugh. Not everything is a laughing matter, and not everything you have to keep crying about.
True.
Yeah?
But there are times that you need to cry.
Exactly.
So don't hold back when
so
it
don't
is
keep
time.
telling
Exactly,
Yeah, it's a
yes.
funeral and they're telling people don't cry. Come
Don't
on.
cry, come on,
There's a
there's a
time
time.
for everything. There's a time to cast away stones, a time to bring them back together, a time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing.
Is it like now? Now that we are in COVID-19,
Look at that.
This is a time.
Now is a time to refrain from
embracing. I
embracing.
mean, look at that. We never thought about that.
Yes, look at that. That is such an ideal example. Because, you know, people were saying, there were people who were saying, as a Christian, so we know to embrace. That is what we were taught.
But look, Solomon.
And now they get COVID.
Solomon spoke about this.
Yes. There was a preacher in the United States who said nobody could tell me don't go to church, you
And
know.
don't hug up people. I mean, it is in
Yeah,
our
but oh gosh,
culture.
our culture, what
It's
Donald
in
Trump
our culture to
tried that. He
hug and
said,
kiss. And
don't do that. You do that, bam, he gets sick with it. He never wear mask. But now he's a time for him to wear mask. So you see,
it
there
makes
is
a
a
lot
time
of
for
sense. So don't feel
everything.
offended if you're walking down the road and you see your brother or your sister and you didn't get that nice warm welcome. Don't feel hurt or offended. This is a time to refrain
We're in a
from
time of
embracing.
refraining from
but we love
embracing.
you still.
Yes. A time to get and a time to lose. Have you ever lost a job?
Yes.
If you have lost a job, you would know. You could only lose a job because you had a job. So you got one, and then you had to lose one.
Yes.
For a lot of ladies now, they would hope there's a time to get weight and a time to lose weight. I wish it would be automatic, as I said.
Flexibility.
But you know, you could take
my
this thing in such a
gosh.
nice way and realize that life has its swings, its turns, its changes. And, you know, with that, it will help you. A time to rend and a time to sow, you see?
Yes.
A time to be quiet and a time to speak.
Yes.
A time to love and a time to hate.
Wow.
A time of
tell me
war
about
and a
that
time
hating
of
thing.
peace.
Time to love and time to
Yeah,
hate.
well, you know, the scripture talk about hating without a cause. See? Talk about hating without a cause. See, if you hate someone without a cause, you are like a murderer.
Okay.
So I guess there are times when, you know, people who are doing evil, there's a time to hate, like hate what they are doing.
Right.
And things like that. And you have to put down your foot and say, not because I'm a Christian, mean that I would like what you're doing. I hate what you're doing.
Exactly. Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yes.
So the question is, how flexible are you? And this is, we are going to read the vows. These are the traditional vows, the very simple vows that they have here. And you will realize it will make demands upon you that you would have seen in what Solomon spoke about. So
Right.
how about taking us through this vow?
So this is a traditional vow, and I know you would be familiar with this vow. So the vow that you're about to take demands commitment to your spouse despite the change in circumstances. All right, so let's examine this typical marriage vow. So let me see. Well, okay, so you would say, I, Stephen, take you, Lorna, to be my wedded wife.
I, Stephen, take you, Lorna, to be my wedded wife.
Right.
To have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death us do part, according to God's holy ordinance, and thereto I plight thee my troth. Now that troth is fidelity.
Right.
Right? Yes.
Good. So
these vows, as you realize, Lorna, it cater for things for better, for worse.
right.
It cater for richer, for poorer. It cater for sickness and in health.
But do you know, plenty times on the day of the wedding, people will just repeat this just because they are told, okay, by the priest, the pastor, whoever, this is the vow that you are going to say, without even the depth of understanding, the depth of the words, for richer, for poorer, for sickness, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse. So sometimes, because you know, the height of the day is, okay, I'm going to get married and we're excited. So we just keep repeating. But it is only after, when situations hit you, then you realize, oh my God, I really didn't know or expect this to happen, for better or for worse.
Well, that's why we are doing this program. One, that's why we insist on having premarital counseling, because you would know we go through these vows before people get married.
Right.
Because just as you say, we have observed over time that people would have on the wedding day, they would repeat anything. I will give you everything that I have.
Yes.
You know, we are one of the vows that we use, say, all my worldly goods to thee
I
endow.
Yes.
See, so we
When
would
you
go
go,
through,
I will go.
Oh, they love that one. They love that one. Ruth and Naomi. Your people will be my people, your God, my God. Where you going, I going. Your friends are my friends, your God is my God.
Out.
Yeah. Who's that you with? I don't want to see you. I don't like you. Don't go with that boy again. And all kind of talk.
Wow.
You forget the vow that you made. You forget your people is my people. And now you're back talking his friends or her friends.
Family,
you're back talking family back, you know. Your God, my God. You don't want to go to church. You're speaking the pastor. They're only taking all your money in that church. And all, but before you get married, or on the day itself, you're saying all kind of things.
Yes.
Because you don't understand the significance and the depth of a vow.
Yes.
See, and this was a vow that was made. So Solomon would have spoken about richer, a time to have,
and
a time to lose. So we have here for better, for worse. Now, let me tell you something. I would hope that you never go through something terrible in your marriage. I would really hope so. But this vow is telling you, listen, don't be quick to run. Don't be quick to abandon this whole vow, this commitment. This is telling you life can have reversals.
Yes.
You know, when we talk about life reversals, you know, it could go a next way wrong. It could be things was going really bad and life reversed.
Yes.
And it started to go good. Not everybody handle wealth properly. There are people who won the lottery and within a short time they became poor again. So you see, not understanding the twists and turns in life, you may not be able to manage it when it comes. For richer, for poor. There are people who have invested and mortgaged their homes for their businesses. Let's take the same COVID-19 time. You know how many people right now are unemployed who businesses would have closed down? You know how many, and I talk about big conglomerates, want to close down airports and airlines. We have cinema chains in the US and UK and in Trinidad also want to close down. So this is a tough time, but there is a time for it.
Yes.
See? a time of sickness and a time of health. We're in a time of sickness right now.
Yes, the whole
We are
country is
in a
sick.
time,
Yes.
the world is sick these days
Yes.
because of this has
People
affected
are sick.
economies
Yes,
and everything.
The health of our country, our nation, yes.
So what we are saying is that when you're going through these things, you have to get your mind ready to deal with it. Instead of using things, I'm so frustrated because all these things are happening, then you're not dealing with the change in times.
Yes, no one wants to experience the negative aspects of life. But there are things that can happen that can totally reverse the direction of your life. A degree of flexibility makes adjustment easier. This may be a good time to talk to your parents about some of their life reversals.
That's a really good idea. So you want to get married, but sometimes you may not ask your mommy or you may not ask your daddy, please tell me about some of the things you went through in life. Now, some of those things, some of you might have been fortunate to hear the stories. Some of you, your parents would have probably shielded you from plenty of things because they just wanted you to focus on your education, and those kind of things. So they might have just shielded you from those things. But really and truly, it is good to talk to them.
Yes, so should it happen to them, at least they would know that it is not just them alone going through something. Other people would have gone through this and overcome.
Yes.
And they are still living, they have, they are successful now. So if I have to go through it, then it should tell me, a testimony should tell me, I can overcome this, what I am also
Yes,
going
mommy
through.
went through it, daddy went through it.
So, I mean, I wouldn't die.
I wouldn't die. Other people went through this thing, they went through worse.
Right, so it will not kill me. And also too, it is either to make you or break you.
And I hope it would make you.
And I hope it will make you.
I hope it would make you better also.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you talk about positive life reversals.
Yes.
I remember in our experience growing up, we would have grown up in what we call a poor state in life. My parents had by that time, I think all the children, by the time I knew my grandfather. On my mother's side, she was an only child. And it was tough with the 10 children. And I knew my dad working very hard in the garden and all of us doing the same thing. And he would feed his family. If it's one thing, he didn't lack us food. But there was a reversal of things. One day, I saw my parents bringing this old man to our home. And then we just told, this is your grandfather. It seemed as though he lived an independent life, a successful gentleman, successful businessman. But my mom, I didn't grow up with him, seeing him. For the first time I'm seeing this man, and he's old, he's sick. And my mom took care of him for a few years well. But she came into a wealthy place when he came and gave her his possessions. And that changed our lives for the better. Everybody benefited from that, and we are still benefiting in a sense, from that. So what I'm saying, life reversals are not always negative. They can be positive. You just have to learn to manage it.
Solomon was able to capture a lot of lives, contrasting moments, and based on what he said, that there is a time for things to change direction. Flexibility, therefore, refers to your ability to adjust and turn around if necessary, or probably just accept that things will always change.
Things will always change. There is a cliche, the only constant thing is really change.
Change.
And that is used as a cliche. But if you really understand the depth of it, you would want to factor flexibility inside of your life and know that things do change, and you have to learn to be flexible.
And have the right attitude, have a positive attitude to change.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the real life issues that may take place when you get married. Well, number one is sometimes after...
First baby. Your wife might put on some weight, and she might find it real difficult to shed this weight. It might be real hard for her,
because sometimes that weight is not like the weight that you just put on from eating food.
Right.
Sometimes it is the extra production of hormones in the wife's body. Because remember, when she gets pregnant, the body now producing different types of hormone to take care of this fetus in here.
Right.
So now it is so necessary. In fact, she needs to put on weight while she's pregnant. The doctor keeps saying, you're not putting on weight, I'm concerned.
Be very concerned.
And that is not so much, also I said, it's not so much a food thing, but it's necessary for this fetus.
Yes.
But this hormonal change, when this lady has her baby, some people are very fortunate to lose the weight almost instantly.
Yes.
You hear if you breastfeed that, they could lose the weight and things like that. But there are people who breastfed, they fed with spoon, they fed with...
They tried everything.
everything. And it didn't lose. There are people who only eat in a little saucer and they can't lose weight.
They can't lose
because
weight,
that has sometimes to do with a hormonal change when this person got pregnant.
Yes.
It's what the body did, you understand? And now the question is now, can a husband still love his wife even if she would have put on a few pounds?
Stephen, I remember of a couple many years ago, this guy, the woman was slim, but she put on weight and she never lost the weight. And he would sit down when it is time to eat and make sure that she eat her food in a small bowl. And he will watch her and make sure she didn't take any more. She was like a prisoner in her own home. She couldn't be free to eat as she wanted to.
Yeah. Well, so he is trying to get her back into a weight that she had before. She became pregnant and he probably thought he was helping. It broke down the marriage terribly because he was not, again, planning to be flexible.
Yes.
He just said, you have to get back that size that you had. And he was going after that, and we have had several issues to deal with. People came for counseling along those lines. But what about flexibility regarding the right way to squeeze the toothpaste?
Is there a right way? I never see any directions on a toothpaste box to say, okay, you squeeze it from the top, you squeeze it from the bottom. I have never seen that.
So, by we growing up in different homes, we would also hold and espouse different ideas on what we consider to be right or wrong. And then there's preferences. Now, these preferences of how you like to see things, if you want to become so inflexible and dogmatic, you may find yourself having a difficult home because you want to insist on things being in a certain way. And then all of a sudden, it's about pleasing this one person and you start to lose the relationship itself. Now, I know the right way to squeeze the toothpaste is from the bottom, but for this program, I will allow my wife to say you can squeeze it from anywhere.
It doesn't matter. You can squeeze it from the side. You can squeeze it from the top. It doesn't matter.
The objective is to get the toothpaste out. Well, of course, the big one that somebody probably saying right now is where the toilet bowl toilet cover should be.
Oh, boy.
Up or down.
Oh, boy. Sometimes, in fact, you only have girls in your home, so most of the time the toilet seat
is down.
Yeah. And sometimes when I get up in the morning and I see it up, I'm tempted to say, why didn't Stephen put down this toilet seat? But then I have to be fair to him and say, you know what, most of the times it is down. Because...
And I never complain and say, why they leave it down? They wouldn't put it up because they have a man in the house. I don't say that because I know the ladies who hear it, they never think about men having to use it really. But we have a sister with boys only. And she said, well, I try to remember when this toilet seat has ever been down. You see?
True,
so again, you have to learn to be flexible. It sounds simple, but some people make big quarrels about these things in their homes.
Yes. What about, you're waiting for your husband to come home on evening so that you can have dinner together?
Oh, that'd be so nice when you now get married.
Oh, yeah.
Until you start to suffer with gas and things like that.
I could recall just yesterday when I reached home, I was so hungry. I said, Lord, what am I going to cook? And I found some things to cook. I cooked up some bhaji and some potato. We had some curry crab and I made some fry bacon. It was 7 o'clock, and I said, "No, God, Stephen not gonna come yet." And I want to eat it, and I want to wait for him, But I'm studying. Oh my God, I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. I said, "You see me? You see me? Let me eat it because I need to fill my belly."
So what she did, she called me while her mouth was full.
While I was eating, I said, "Stephen, boy, I'm so hungry. I need to eat. I need to eat." But we have to be we have to learn to be flexible.
But if you notice, we still try to maintain that as much as possible over the years, to eat together as much as is possible. But the flexibility allows us, when we cannot do so, not to hold each other under any bondage and make each other feel guilty.
Sometimes it happens, sometimes it can't happen.
Sometimes it can't happen. Yeah, but
according to Solomon, there's a time for everything.
Yes, there's a time for everything. Well, one of the areas on flexibility, see if we could touch on it here, is when you make rules in the home. I believe that for any home to run efficiently, there must be some rules laid down, and they must be agreed to by both spouses.
Right.
Adherence to these rules as much as possible sets the family on a secured footing. Because where there are no rules, if there's no order, the scripture talks about setting your home in order. Where there's no order, your home will fall apart.
Right.
But when both spouses are on the same page, the children get better direction for their lives. So sometimes the children don't get good direction because the spouses are not agreeing.
Right, yes.
So these children don't know what to do. So if you could get parents agreeing, your children will actually be better for it.
True.
So let me warn you, though, that your children would really test both of you regarding the rules and the individual commitment to keep them.
Children?
When you as parents agree, all right, okay, these children, they're going to bed 8 o'clock.
Right,
Here, Lorna, they're going to bed 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. And then 8 o'clock reach, and then you find 8 o'clock too early because those children want somebody to come and lie down in the bed with them to fall asleep. Then you point at each other, you go. You go. Your turn to lie down with them. And, so really and truly, when you make rules, you also have to agree to do what you have to do to uphold and to keep them.
Correct.
Because tell you, these children would test you and test your resolve. They would say, let's see well, they don't say it actually like that, but they would test your resolve because they always want to do something a little different. Many children don't like rules,
No. But do you know that there may be times when even rules which were upheld for years may have to be broken?
That's correct. Sometimes your children reach a certain age that you might have made rules for them that was age appropriate.
Correct.
And now when they reach a certain age, you have to learn to be flexible. There, in our home, we have young women and we have a child, a 12-year-old. So sometimes the 12-year-old wants the privilege of the 22-year-old and 24-year-old. She didn't want to, and we had to let her know that is not for you. And daddy, you're unfair. This is not a case of being unfair. Is that your elder sister was under those same rules at a certain point in time.
Yes.
And now they're older. We have to, as it were, amend or even break those rules because they have to be age appropriate. And sometimes you make rules based on the times that you're in. Take, for example, we are in this COVID time.
Yes.
When we come out of this COVID time, there are a lot of things that we are doing today that we wouldn't be doing again. You'll have to break the rules that they make, all the stringent rules now, the laws that were passed. Some of these laws have what they call sunset clauses, which there's a time that it would expire because there are things that would change.
Yes. And so, of course, in your home, you need to revisit those rules, right? Of course, with no little comfort, but I'm sure you will survive and make the necessary changes that are needed.
So we are telling you now, as a young person, you plan to get married, you have to learn to make rules. You have to learn to keep them.
Yeah.
But you also have to learn there's a time for everything. There's a time to keep the rules and there's a time to break the rules.
Yeah.
When we, this may sound funny, but even Jesus Christ broke some rules.
He did.
When he was accused of eating
Yes.
on the Sabbath day, going through the field, and those guys were plucking ears of corn, he reminded them when Abiathar, the high priest, allowed David
Yes.
to eat of the showbread that was in the temple. And David was not a priest.
Right.
David had no right to eat of that, but David was hungry. And Abiathar, realizing he had the spiritual sight to see that David would be king. So he's not going to let this young king die from hunger. What did he do? He allowed him to eat of the showbread. And Jesus had to bring up this example with the Pharisees so that they would know that the Sabbath day, as much as that is lawful, some changes had to be made and
Jesus
can be made.
When if your donkey fall into a ditch on the Sabbath day,
yes, he was showing flexibility.
Would
in that
you
time.
leave it to die?
So and when did they bring it out? Remember, they were complaining when he was healing people.
Yeah, on the Sabbath day.
On the Sabbath day.
Yes.
And you're right to say he asked that question. If your donkey fell into a ditch, what would you do?
Exactly.
There is flexibility in all these things. So if you're inflexible, you're too regimented, you're too stiff, you may cause some problems in your home. Well, we're out of time today, and we really pray that God will bless you. We want to continue this topic on flexibility, though, and we ask you to keep tuned to our next session.
And God bless. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you for watching Married to an Angel, hosted by Reverend Dr. Stephen and Lorna Mendoza. For prayer and counseling, contact us at 304-4145 or email your request to needprayer@ourmissiontt.com. We encourage you to like and follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember, you can be an angel to your spouse.